I've not known Nettie a long time, but I love her. Everybody else does. Yeah, absolutely. So, come back. But we come in contact with Nettie, I believe it was in February, truly, this year. We ended up at Life at Chiplow, which is a church that she has been a part of for many years. And when we came in, Nettie made us feel 100% whole. My wife, Beth Ann, and our little girl, Ellison, and she loves on my family. And the quickest way to my heart is not loving on me, it's loving on my girls. And Nettie does that well. So I appreciate her, and I appreciate her for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you guys. She raves about the Scentsy world and all that she does and how much she loves it. So for her to pour her time and energy into it, she's got to love you guys. And so she deserves all the respect and honor, and I give that to her today. When she came to me at 6 o'clock in the morning on a random Wednesday and was like, "Hey, Taylor." You know, that's true Nettie fashion, man. Hey, Taylor, I'm having this retreat and I want you to speak at it. I said, "Sure, fine." She said, "What about prayer?" I said, "I don't preach when I speak." And she said, "What did you speak at?" "It's going to be at like 7 o'clock. Sure. So here I am, and my wife, little girl, would be with me, but you know that 6 a.m.s and 3-year-olds usually don't go together. So I was actually leaving and I heard her talking in the bedroom, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble because I'm probably woke her up." But as Nettie said, I am a commercial, I'm called a relationship banker, but what I am is I'm a commercial and consumer banker for Guarantee Bank. And oddly enough, I was in finance for about 10 years, and it became so consuming that it was taking me away from my family, it was taking me away from the things that I like to do in church, and it was taking me away from all the things that I enjoyed. So providing for my family became a punishment to my family. And I said, "God, that's not your plan for my life." I could share a whole lot of detail about my wife and I, but we went through about 3.5 years of infertility. Unexplained infertility, nobody knew what was going on. Doctor visit after doctor's visit. One of the tests was $5,000 just to kind of see what was going on, and everything came back pretty much perfect. And I thought, "God, you did not bless me with this child for me to be absent." I believe God's plan is for a father to his family's life and to lead from home if at all possible. So I started trying to figure out how to walk away from a 6-figure career and still provide for my family. My wife's done a great job, but of course in today's economy, you really don't want to take major pay cuts after you get used to, 10 years of that life. But as we began to pray and kind of seek into that area, it became life-changing. It was one of those things that it was a process. We were in the middle of praying about some other things, and it was kind of like life happens to everybody, but sometimes life happens all at once. And I was in one of those moments where I was like, "All right, God, life is happening all at once." And I would often say, "I wish that I could just stop time for just a minute, let life cool down, let me kind of get my bearings, and step back into reality." But unfortunately, we know that life never stops. So when Nettie came to me about this, I really had no idea what to speak to Scentsy retreat about at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I was laying in the bed and on vacation, and this thought came to me, and I did not know exactly how it was going to end up. But I just want to bring this to you guys this morning. I'll try to be quick. I know you guys are tired. But when it comes to business and things of business and doing business, I love it, and I could talk about it forever, but I'm not going to do that to y'all this morning. But I have been in a pretty much incentive-based world all of my career, so I understand what it is that you all are facing and the challenges and the stress and the weight that you carry. But who loves open door moments in life where you just kind of feel like it is all lined up, I've hit all my goals, Nettie has sent me a postcard and told me how great I'm doing. Hey, we love those moments, right? And we love open door moments of breakthrough, of healing, of provision, of opportunity. But between the closed door and the open door, there's space that we often don't like, but it's a hallway. And sometimes God often places us in hallways. And hallways feel lonely. Sometimes they're quiet. And if anybody knows anything about me, I don't like quiet. I'm never quiet. So I do not enjoy hallways. They feel endless. Sometimes it's as though you walk through a door that leads into a hallway, and the hallway just never stops. You're just looking and you're like, where is the light at the end of this tunnel? I'm tired. I feel like I'm giving it all I got, and this hallway is never ending. But it's in those hallways that God usually does his deepest work. And we find our deepest growth. It's in those hallways that we usually see more of God's fingerprints than you ever see in the sun. And unfortunately, it takes those hallways for us to appreciate the provision and for us to appreciate the breakthroughs and the opportunities. And as I mentioned, I've spent my entire work career in some type of incentive-based background. I worked in finance until August of 24, and now, as I mentioned, I'm a commercial banker with Gimmick, so I still know exactly what you guys are going through. But when it seems like those goals and those sales goals are mountains, but then sometimes it feels like the sales that hit those goals are minimal. And you're like, I have put all of God into it. I've done all that I can do. I'm doing all the things that trained us to do. I'm promoting, I'm pushing, I'm praying, and everything else. I'm setting up at every event that I can set up at. But what is going wrong? And it's almost like you see the light kind of start to dim. And you're like, I'm hanging on. But this hallway's getting a little long. I'm walking it, and I'm doing all that I can do. But I'm getting a little tired. You look down at your Apple Watch and you're like, all right, I'm 120,000 steps into this thing. Something's got to give. Like I'm running out of steam. That's life, guys. We all have that, whether it's in Scentsy, whether it is in things at the church, whether it's in your personal careers. I know a lot of people do both. They do their Scentsy career, they have something outside. Some people, this is all you do, and you've poured your life work into it. And sometimes I feel like when you're in that boat, you're like, this is all that I've got. I have sent everything that I can. I'm trying to provide for family. I'm trying to provide for kids, grandkids, a future, a career. And you're like, where am I at? And what am I doing? And why is none of this making sense? Why is my hard work falling to the wayside? Or so it appears. But when I was thinking of the hallways, I was trying to think of ways that God uses those hallways. He uses them to teach us patience. He uses it to teach us dependence. Because guys, at the end of the day, nothing we have is ours, and nothing we do on our own. He uses it for preparation. Sometimes you have to go through that hallway to be prepared for what is waiting on the other side. Because without that hallway, what is on the other side would be way too heavy. It'd be way too much, and you would not be ready. Guys, there's nothing worse than being in the right place at the wrong time. In anything you do. There were times in my career as I was advancing, I was moving up, I was doing things, that I ended up in the right place at the wrong time, and I was not prepared for the load that a team brought, for a load that a larger branch brought, for the load that going in and trying to clean up after bad management brought. But you know what I did? I had to find myself in the hallway. And not only now was I in the hallway, I was in the hallway with a new career, or a new job, a new step in my job. And sometimes it's much easier to walk in that hallway and get prepared for what's coming than have to go back into a hallway with what was already there. And so, when you're standing in a hallway, don't mistake silence for absence. A closed door does not mean a closed heaven. I want that to sink in for just a minute. A closed door does not mean a closed heaven. When my wife and I were going through the infertility journey, about 2.5 years in, with no answers, we started looking into adoption. I always wanted a large family. I come from, my mom is one of 10, my dad is one of 6. And so I come from a huge family, and that's all that I wanted in life. And so it was soul crushing to sit through doctor's visit after doctor's visit with no answers. And so we kind of took things into our own hands and said, you know what, we'll just adopt. we spent more money than I would like to tell you, getting prepared for that, home studies and legal fees and all these things that comes in. We just couldn't get peace about it. I didn't know why. It wasn't that we were against adoption. It was just though God was saying, not yet, not right now. And that was hard to kind of step away from because we thought that's the quickest and easiest route. We don't really have to trust God in this. We can kind of just buy this and get a ready-made family and everything will be okay. So as we walked through that, and as we kept, kind of feeling against that and feeling the door close, we didn't know what we were going to do. We had invested so much money. We have invested so much time. I met with so many people and already told people, hey, we're looking into adoption. And that door closed in our face. God said, but after that, we were sitting in a service, and a church service in Hawaii. And lo and behold, they said, hey, we're going to take up a sacrificial offering today. Here's kind of where we're at. And my wife and I took the money that we had in an adoption account that we had saved and gave every bit of it. We wiped it out. And we gave them that offering. Every day. Then we get home and my wife's like, I don't know if we gave enough. So we were going to check for $1,000 and put that offering. Guys, we shut that door. That was a slam door when we started getting out savings accounts. We slammed it and said, all right, God, we're going to trust you with that. That was in, I believe, maybe July. In September, my whole house was pregnant. Oh, Jesus. That was a holiday. And God said, are you going to trust me in what I've given you and the words I've spoken over you?
Right.
Are you going to try to fund your own means out of this?
Wow.
Guys, God can fund something in 5 minutes, 5 seconds, that we all could not fund in 500 years.
Wow.
Amen.
But it was in that hallway that God proved himself faithful to me and my little wife. In that hallway where I saw no means of provision, where every doctor had said, we don't know what's wrong. You guys should be more than able to have a family. But one day I looked back and I said, you know what? It wasn't that maybe there was anything physically wrong. It was God saying, you've been raised with this, you know where I come from, but are you going to be who you say you are in trust me? I've spoken these promises over your life. I've told you that I've got you in the palm of my hand. But are you going to lean into me and trust me to take care of you? And guys, Scentsy is not just wax and warmers and commission and sales and hoping that one day everybody can be on Nettie's level. It's not that, guys. That is also a means of provision for your family. It is a means for you to leave a legacy. It is a means for you to put something in God's hands and say, God, you've provided for me before. You'll provide for me again. You can do more with what I have than I could ever do with everything that this world has to offer. But when you're standing in that dark, dim hallway, sometimes it's hard to look up and say, all right, God, you're a God of provision. Sometimes you look up and you say, all right, God, I feel like you're the God of silence in my life. And it's so easy to look over at people's lives. Nettie's got a beautiful family, and it's so easy to look over and say, they have got it all. Nettie's got it made. She has climbed the ladder. She has done all these things. But we also look back and say, but will God do it for me? He'll do it for her, and he'll do it for everybody else. But will he do it for me? And guys, I know that in everything you probably heard this weekend, you probably heard the word intention. You got to be intentional about things. In life, in your career, in your family, there's a lot of things you have to be intentional about. Guys, one thing that you've got to be intentional about every day is hope.
Yes.
Every day. When you get up, when you're logging in and you're looking at your sales and you're looking at your plan for the day, you've got to be intentional about hope. You got to hold on to hope, because the same God that opened the last door will be the God that opens the next door. And guys, without hope, you don't have faith. And if you do not have hope, then you feel hopeless. And if you feel hopeless, and you truly believe that you are hopeless, you will not have the energy to put into building business. You will not have the drive to put into providing. Because if you are truly hopeless, you are to the point where you're saying, well, I'm going to end this matter. And guys, the Bible tells us as long as they're breathing, there's hope. If God woke you up this morning, and He did because you're all saved. We're debating on one, right? She's all the best. But if he got you here this morning, guys, it's because you still got hope. And you are not in a hopeless situation. You are not. And when Nettie was praying that prayer this morning, and she was talking about God, providing everything you touch that He can take care of. Guys, I believe that.
Yes.
I truly believe that He can take anything you touch and mold it and make it into more than you could ever dream or desire. When I walked away from the finance world, and I walked away from about 10 years of work and stepped into banking. Guys, I knew very little about banking, but I took what I knew about finance and I said, all right, God, you've provided for me for 10 years, you've provided for my family. And if I could tell you my backstory from the time that I was a child, God has provided for me more than I can ever tell you. I grew up very poor, and it wasn't because my family did not try. It wasn't because they didn't want to, but sometimes life just dealt an unfair hand.
Yes.
And so to the kid who at a very young age worried about how mom and dad were going to pay the bills and how this and that was going to happen, how that was going to happen, it'll make you a little bit different in life, and sometimes you worry about things that you should never worry about. And now that I have a 3-year-old, and I was thinking about a career change, I was going, God, I don't ever want to put her in a position that she ever feels the way that I felt and carry the burdens that I felt as a kid, because she shouldn't have to. And so then once again, I wanted to take back my career into my own hands and say, God, I can do this. I can make the decisions, I can do everything. And guys, as I began to look for different jobs and began to apply for different things, I figured out what was going on. I quickly realized I cannot do this. God's going to have to open the correct door. And guys, when I went to interview at Guarantee Bank, which was formerly First American in Fulton, Mississippi, with Tommy Chamberlain, I walked in the doors, and it was almost as though when I walked in, I knew. The environment just had a different feel to it. And guys, it has been since August of last year that I stepped into that. And guys, God has blessed, and God has opened doors, and now I'm able to go out in the community, and I'm able to go into businesses and offices, and love on them, and come in and say, hey, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? How can I help you? I'm just here to serve the community. And guys, that's my favorite part of my job. It's not signing loan documents. It's not, which I do love making loans. It is not just making loans and going in and having a great maker's hours. Guys, it is the ability to sit back and tell people there is hope.
That's so good.
Because there is. There's hope. And it may take in the United States a couple of days, trusting God. But I've got in-laws, I'm going to end with this, I know I'm going to go a little bit today. But I've got in-laws. They live in Fulton, Mississippi, and they're wonderful people. But they started a business from scratch. And he is now sitting on a business that's worth $50 million. They were sitting in a church service back in the 80s, and he looked at my mother-in-law and said, write a check for $1,000. She said, keep it, it's all you got. He said, I'm telling you, that's what I feel the Lord's telling us to do. Write a check for $1,000. They gave the check, and he still says to this day, that is when everything in our life shifted. Because they trusted God. They started some businesses after that from scratch, a second, and now their businesses to over $50 million. Guys, I don't know about you, But $1,000 for $50 million trade-off.
Yeah.
God can do more in 5 seconds with each and every one of you, with each and every one of your businesses, with each and every one of your teams, than you could do if you did one of these seminars every weekend. Because at the end of the day, He doesn't need us. We need Him. And so when you're walking through that next hallway, and the lights seem pretty dim, and life is happening all at once, and the kids have lost their mind, the spouse has lost his mind, the bills are piling up, maybe you're not hitting the goals that you want to hit. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to say, there is hope in this hallway.
Praise God.
Because God did not bring me this far to leave me here. He didn't. If He didn't care about you, He would have brought you this far. He'd have left you a long time ago. But He has brought you ladies here, brought you thus far. He's providing. You guys have got a drive and a wheel that He has given you. So the next time that you're walking through a dark spot, I want you to have a little bit of faith, a little bit of hope. Look yourself in the mirror and say, He didn't bring this far to leave me. This hallway is cold, it is dark, and it may seem endless, but there is hope. And when you walk out on the other side, I want you to look back. And I want you to realize I was right. He was right there the whole time.
Amen.
Because there's going to be a day, my wife and I still have couples that reach out to us and say, how in the world do I make it? We've been trying for 11 years, 15 years, whatever it is. Can you please tell us something to encourage us? In that dark hallway that she and I walked through for 3.5 years, oftentimes, I look over my girl in any situation in life. And I think, God, You didn't leave me in that. And she's a constant reminder every day of just how faithful He is. And she gives me hope no matter the situation, because I trusted Him once. I can trust Him again. If I can trust Him once, I can trust Him again. And so every time I get in a hallway, I can look over and I've got a blonde-headed, blue-eyed, hazel-eyed reminder that He wasn't leaving me alone in that hallway. He was teaching me something. So whatever it is in your life right now, it may not even be sensitive. There may be things outside of your life that have got you in the hallway. But one day you're going to walk out of that hallway, and whatever it is that is waiting on the other side, take it by the hand and remember, the next time I walk through a hallway, I've still got hope. And I'm going to leave you ladies with that. Thank y'all so much.
That was good.